Hey everybody, how you doing? Woo! Welcome to PHLY Flyers Postgame presented by Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for this morning. Welcome to the show. Joining me live in the Xfinity Mobile studio, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor. Look at that, Chuck. We're on the air before 1. I am excited about it. I am excited about the what is likely the final post-game show of 2025. When
you're right.
we join you tomorrow, it'll likely be after midnight. Looking forward to that one, but a nice, easy, nothing really to talk about 6-3 win for our Philadelphia Flyers tonight out in Vancouver. We're going to talk all about it. We'll have your unsung hero, your game changer, your 3 stars, all that fun stuff and more. Plenty of Michkov discourse. But first, I got to tell you about the Sweet Takeover. That's right. It is the Sweet Takeover. It is January 6th. It is Flyers Ducks at that Xfinity Mobile Arena. You're going to want to be there. You're going to want to be there with us. There's one way to do that. It's go to allphly.com/events and get your tickets right now. There's a good discount for diehards. One of the many benefits of being a PHLY diehard is a discount on merch and events. You get to take advantage of this if you are one. If not, you can still buy a ticket, and it is going to be a great time. Best game I was at last year, best experience in a long time was the Sweet Takeover against the Ducks, and we got ourselves a pretty good team to watch this year. It's not just about Cutter. It's about everything. So make sure you get your tickets, allphly.com/events. All right, Chuck. Nice little win for the Philadelphia Flyers out in Vancouver. They get their first victory of the post-Christmas trip. Obviously, they beat Chicago before the break, but this is like the real Disney on Ice trip when they're all the way out west and the games are late as hell, and they get the win tonight. Not the way they drew it up, maybe. The first 11 and a half or so minutes, they were outshot 10-0. And then, of course, Zegras gets the first shot on goal with 8:39 left in the first period. And then it was all Flyers until like midway through the third from there.
Yeah, I would say that the Flyers turned the momentum. I thought in the first period, the second half of the first period, it was a little bit more even than true dominance. Like the Flyers control play more often than they didn't, but it's not like Vancouver didn't have their chances. Although the second period, though, that was the Flyers team that I expected to see at the start of the game. Now, why we didn't see it at the start of the game, I don't know. Maybe Vancouver was just playing with extra jump. Maybe the Flyers stayed out a little bit late last night. Maybe it was a little bit of both. Maybe it was nothing. I have no idea. But those first 11 minutes were atrocious. And then after you had the sequence of, and we'll talk about all 3 of these, but you had the sequence of the big hit from Travis Konecny on Philip Roenick. You had the great play by Matvei Michkov to set up Noah Cates, and then the great shot by Noah Cates, possibly aided by Liam Ogren's stick, giving it a little bit extra loft. But hey, you know what? Take whatever advantages the other team gives you. After that goal, it seemed like it's hard to say whether the Flyers woke up or maybe Vancouver was just shook because they're thinking to themselves, man, we played as well as we could possibly play, and it's still only 1-1. You've got to be kidding me. And then they just lost their steam, and then they're in the second game of back-to-back, so maybe they just ran out of steam as well as the game went on. But I felt like for whatever reason, it just took the Flyers a half a period to get into the game, and then once they were into the game, they did what you expect them to do, which is beat an inferior team. Vancouver is obviously not a good team. The Flyers are, we can quibble on whether they are great, good, average, whatever, but they're not bad.
Above average, sure.
We agree that they're not bad.
Yeah.
Vancouver is bad. And you saw again, the same way you saw it last week when the Flyers blew out this same team, the difference between a bad team and a team that is somewhere between average and good to great. Where they fall on that spectrum, on that scale, that's up to you.
I don't think they know. Like, I don't think anyone actually knows. And you see here how that shot battle worked out. Flyers actually took a lead for quite a bit of the game in the shot battle after trailing 10-0 through almost 12 minutes. And it was a pretty physical game, I thought, especially to start. We see Sealer and Evander Kane drop the gloves right away. Was hoping that was like Sealer trying to get out ahead of what he saw. Like, oh,
I think
okay.
it was. It just didn't work.
Yeah, it just didn't take. It just didn't he was like, oh, okay. So they stink and they have twice the legs we do. I need to get this going. Everyone hates Evander Kane. This is easy. Let me drop the gloves with him, but it didn't really seem to get the boys going at all. They fall down 1-0, as is customary. But then they make their comeback and do it in pretty good style. And we hit 2 of our 3 bets along the way, Charlie. That is what I am, of course, most excited about. Zegras picks up he picks up a couple of assists, but he gets his over half a point. Bobby Brink scores a goal. Denver Barkey still looking for that first one. We might talk about him a little bit later. But if we're going to talk about that first period, that's the Dan Vladar period. Like, that is what we have seen time and time again from this guy. I know it's, you always think of like, oh, the most clutch goal he saves, or, net empty at the other end, couple minutes left, protecting a 1-goal lead. He has won, or at least contributed to gaining points in games so much this year by just not sucking in the first period, or really just being the only guy awake for this team. He does let up the one. He stops 9 of 10, but you get outshot 10-0 through 12 minutes, and it could be a lot worse. And of course, they're able to then tie it up a little later. In the first period, that's the Dan Vladar period.
Yeah, if I'm right, and that goal was less about getting the goal the Flyers scored, the Cates goal in the first, that goal was less about really getting the Flyers going and more about shaking the Canucks to their foundations, because they look up and suddenly they're tied 1-1 in a game they've dominated. If that truly was the case, Dan Vladar is the reason why that happened. Because the way the Flyers are playing and the way the Canucks are playing, to their credit, it easily could have been 2-3-0. Vladar makes a bunch of big stops, does give up the one, but he could have given up 2 or 3, and then suddenly the Flyers have a mountain to climb rather than just like a little hill. And that's all it was. As bad as they played, they were only down 1-0. All it was going to take was one good sequence, one good play. They got a few plays in succession. They score the goal. Rest of the game obviously goes the Flyers' way. Vladar was great in this game. I felt really bad that Vladar got that third goal on his record at the end. Like, that's one of the, I was surprised that Bush didn't go on a rant about it, because Bush hates those, where you're like, that's the kind of goal that goalies hate to give up because it really hurts the save percentage. Like, that was not his fault. That was a chaos goal. And you knew there was no chance that Vancouver was coming back and actually tying the game or winning the game. So it literally was a goal that was just scored. So the save percentage should get a little worse. And I guess so Christian Dvorak can ask for a little bit more on his contract, because he picks up the extra empty netter as a result.
He gets that extra couple of empty net goals in this one. Always love when you can tack that extra one on at the end. Seemed like maybe things were going to pop off after that, but everyone was like, you know what? Doesn't really seem worth it. But yeah, Dan Vladar, I'm glad you brought that up, because it pissed me off. Like, protect your goalie. Yeah, he's the reason. Exactly. His first period is the reason you had a chance to win this game, and you did win this game, and you did it in freaking regulation, despite not showing up for the first 11 and a half minutes of the game. And that just, you give up the 16 shots. Okay, that happens. They're making their push. Sure, it was an eventful third. And that's actually nice. The Flyers didn't sit back a ton in the third. I want to talk about that too, but that did piss me off, them giving up that third goal. Like, man, that's on everyone but Vladar. That's on the equipment staff. That's on Danny Briere. That is on everybody in the organization except the goaltender, in my mind. But I guess you can't win them all. He still comes away with a 9-14 on the night, stops 32 of 35. So it doesn't hurt his season save percentage all that terribly. Let's talk about that third for a second, Charlie. Flyers get outshot 16-9, but was happy to see, personally, they put 9 shots up in the third. They didn't seem to really go into their shell. About halfway through the third, Vancouver just made their push, but like, that's what happens. Like, when you're down a couple of goals, the other team eventually like makes their push. But I was happy to see kind of rolling the lines, getting on offense, not just, all right, we're going to dump and change. It's maybe not a departure, but an execution of what they want to do, and not that sit back that we've seen them do so often that's resulted in a lot of blown leads.
Yeah, I almost wonder if it was just the wake-up call they got at the start of the period, because they start off the period, they have a couple bad shifts, immediately leads to Vancouver cutting the game to 3-2, and then you're thinking, uh-oh, This is suddenly a game again. Maybe the Flyers give up another goal. It goes to overtime. Then we're up until 2:30 a.m. doing a post-game show. Like, that thought very much did cross my mind. I was nervous. And then 26 seconds later, Michkov has the great setup to set up Brink on the 2-on-1. I almost wonder if, they get that goal. Obviously, they have a good shift right after the goal. They score. But then it's kind of serving as a wake-up call to the whole team of, okay, we got our mulligan. We had our bad couple shifts to start the period. Let's not go through this again. Michkov and Brink bailed us out, and that's great. But we can't sit back and go through this again. Let's stay playing hard. Let's keep forechecking, keep attacking. And they did, up until near the end of the period when, Vancouver pulls the goalie and then chaos happens. Like that's just the way it goes. But I agree with you. I liked the third period for the most part. The beginning of the third period scared me. Maybe it also scared them enough that it was the driving force as to why they didn't sit back after they extended the lead back to 4-2.
No, I think that's a good point. And listen, the whole idea is don't give up goals. So you can't say, oh, they gave one up and that was good. But a lot of times it's like they're protecting a 1 or 2 goal lead and there's 7 minutes left when they give up that first one. And now there's not time to really get moving and get into the period and play normal. This happened so quickly. There were 2 goals in the period in 94 seconds, I think.
Yeah.
It almost restarted the game a little bit. Everyone could just go, oh, all right, period just started. We're fresh out of the locker room. None of that happened. 2 goal lead again. We're good. And I do wonder that is it happening right away was almost good for them, that it didn't lull them in we just had 10 shifts in a row where we just got the red line and got off. It'll probably keep working. I do wonder if that is the case. Let's before the break, let's talk Matvei Michkov. Let's at least start the Michkov conversation. We'll come back to it after the first break, Charlie.
Okay.
2 assists tonight, his 4th multi-point game of the season. He had 10 multi-point games through 38 games last year, 19 in total. I thought this was one of his more noticeable games. The 3 shots on goal, 2 of them were kind of mini breakaways. Only 12:30 of ice time, but he was effective and noticeable, plus 2 or 3 on the night. I thought this was one of his better games of the season.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. He obviously had jump. He was moving well, but more than that, he just looked like he was playing with confidence again. I think that was lacking in his game, in the lead up to the Christmas break. He was still feeding his teammates. He was still making some good passes in the lead up to the break, but I just didn't see a lot of confidence, in his ability to score himself. Now, granted, he doesn't score a goal. He's still a little snake bitten. I think he needs to just break through with maybe a greasy goal that makes him feel better about his finishing ability. But it's clear that he wasn't letting that, because he was frustrated. They showed it on the broadcast. There was one of those breakaways. They showed his face and he's looking skyward. He's showing frustration. Coach is never going to like that. They're always going to be like, don't let them see you're frustrated. Just be like, I knew what's going to happen. I think back to that advice in A Few Good Men, when Tom Cruise says like never let the other attorneys see what you're thinking. Everything that happens is what you expect it to happen. Stone poker faces. That's what you should do on the ice. You should probably try not to show your frustration. But Michkov is a kid. He just turned 21 years old, whatever. But I like the fact that he didn't let that frustration boil over to the point where it prevented him from setting up the chances he set up for his teammates. Look, there was a point early in the game where I was worried because there was a play when they were in their 11 minutes of disaster to start the game where his line got trapped on the ice for 2 minutes. And then at the end of the shift, they hadn't won the puck and he's out in the neutral zone looking for a stretch pass. It's Mish, come on. This is not the time to be looking for, even if you get the puck, you're going to have stone legs. You're not going to be able to outrun anybody.
It almost got to him.
Yeah.
And it was what? Where would you have gone?
Where were you going to do it?
Where were you going, dude? I could have caught you through the television. That's very much what it looked like.
So
I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. So I was worried after that
because Vancouver had that shift, and they don't score on it. And the Flyers had one similar where it looked like they let Vancouver off the hook, but that's going to come up in Unsung Hero, Charlie. I want to talk a little bit more about Michkov on the other side, but first, we need to hear from our sponsors. Listen up, Philly sports fans. It is the season of gifting, and if you're looking for something truly unforgettable this year, I've got the perfect idea. You've got to check out the incredible work from Philadelphia sports artist Jordan Spector over at SpectorSportsArt.com. I personally own one of Jordan's pieces myself, and trust me, these aren't just posters you hang on the wall. These are museum-level artworks of the greatest moments and icon in Philly sports history. His collections come in prints, canvases, and even athlete partner trading cards. And get this, one of the newest cards actually includes a piece of Brandon Graham's real game-worn jersey from that matchup in New Orleans. You know, the big one against Kansas City. It does not get more authentic than that. So if you've got a diehard sports fan in your life, or you just want to treat yourself, this is the kind of gift that they will talk about forever. So head over right now to SpectorSportsArt.com. That's SpectorSportsArt.com and grab something epic for the Philly fan in your life. Just this afternoon, I'm over at a friend's place. He is pumped to be watching some football. There's some hockey games on, and I'm happy to be with him. But his setup, it's a total mess. We're talking lagging, we're talking buffering, switching between all these apps to try to find the games we're looking for. I've known him his whole life. He claims he's a big fan, but I feel like I've been fan-fished. You see, if you call yourself a hockey fan, if you call yourself a football fan, a sports fan of any kind, you gotta have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination. I can find all the best games and all my favorite teams all in one place, and the way I watch, it is next level. It's the perfect fan flex. You get all the action right in your living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K is so clear, feels like I'm in the arena, and sometimes I can even get up to 4 games going at once with the multi-view, because why not? So next game day, make sure you're a big fan and not a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box. All right, welcome back. We're in the Xfinity mobile studio tonight, Charlie, and I wanted to go back to a tweet you put out about an hour ago, it looks like, and you're talking about the Michkov-Cates Brink line and how it looks like they're seemingly putting something together. The chemistry with Cates on the first goal, how Brink and Michkov seem to team up and have some fun. What do you think of this line now that we've seen it together for a few games?
I'm liking what I'm seeing. I hate that tweet because there's a word I missed, and
I
that
know, I'm sorry.
typos drive me crazy because I can't edit tweets. But it meant to have said not the first time TV caught them giggling like grade
Yeah.
schoolers on the bench. That's what I meant. Frustrating to me that I missed that. Anyway, back to the line. Yeah, I'm really liking what I'm seeing. I think we knew that Michkov and Brink could play at least okay together. You know, they were on that line with Couturier in the middle earlier in the year, but I was more intrigued to see what Cates could do with Michkov. And that's why, to me, it's the first goal that's the most intriguing, because that was a chemistry goal. You know, that's a goal where Cates is working well off Michkov. Michkov makes an underrated play. Brink sends the puck in, and Michkov has to stop that and settle it with the puck in midair. He does a really good job batting the puck down and immediately settling it. Great play on the entry. And then just great patience, draws the defense in before sending it right back to Cates with speed moving downhill. That's a really good chemistry pass. I'm liking what I'm seeing. The real idea behind the line in my mind was, okay, like, you know that Couturier and Michkov work to a degree because of how well they think the game, but Couturier has obviously lost a step. He has. Cates is not a burner, but he's faster than what Couturier is at this stage. So maybe when in Cates on that line, you could be like, all right, all the good of Couturier in terms of the hockey IQ and the defensive acumen that can cover for Michkov when he freelances a bit, but add in a little bit more dynamic. And not to say Cates is dynamic, but he's more dynamic than Couturier at this stage. Maybe add in a little bit more dynamic offensive play, and you see if you have something here. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. We talked about in pregame that I felt like this was kind of a pivot game with the lines, where if they had another game where they struggled offensively, I felt like there was probably going to be a shakeup. Obviously, they did not struggle offensively in this game. They scored 6 goals. But this line was a line where I kind of had my eye on of, you know, if they don't show a breakthrough soon, maybe you have to juggle it a little bit. They've certainly earned themselves another game. And as for Michkov himself, like, this to me, and I have this already in my my article, like, there were so many times last year when I would do the Matvei Michkov of it all in my 10 observations, and I would say, you know, Michkov had 2 points, but he could have had 5, given the amount of chances. I haven't had to write that very often this season. Like, when he has 2 points, I'm like, yeah, Cool. He got 2 points. Good
Yeah.
job. Good job, Matvei.
One was a secondary. I didn't know he was on the ice for it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This game, though, this was a game where he had 2 points and it could have been 4. Like, easily could have been 4 if he finishes on one of those, if he gets a bounce here and there, could have had 4 or 5 points in this game. Maybe the first time this season where I've typed that out, and that's big because hopefully that bodes well for him moving forward. Hopefully he can carry this over into tomorrow, and then hopefully when he gets back home, maybe he's built up some confidence that he can use that as a springboard into a strong rest of January.
When we're talking about like the line composition, we did this the other day when, talking about the comments Tocchet made about how, well, Barkey's predictable and that's what makes him good with Tippett. And it was kind of like Michkov is that wild card. And if you have 2 wild cards out there, it's kind of tough. It's kind of tough for everybody to read everybody. Do you think the same thing now goes for Mish with these 2? Like, Bobby Brink, we think of him, when we drafted him and all that, it was like, oh, this is a skilled puck handler, playmaker, but he's really turned himself into a pretty complete hockey player and a north-south guy. You know what he's going to do, and you see his goal tonight, nothing pretty. Crash the far post on a 2-on-1, man. Let the puck come to you. And Noah Cates is the ultimate, you know what he's going to do, the right thing. Like, that's Noah Cates' job. Do you think that goes for Mish, too? Like, just give him these 2 guys and let it come together. Give it a couple of games. See if they can take advantage of his skill and their just ability to be in the right place.
Yeah, I mean, I still wish there was a little bit more speed on the line. Like, it would be nice if they could be a little bit more dangerous in transition. Not obviously they scored 2-on-1 goal in this game, but that was a clear-cut 2-on-1 where they didn't have to move fast. And Michkov slows down that play before he finds Brink because he has the time because no one's even in their zip code coming back on the play. I'd love to see Michkov with line mates that are a little bit quicker, but in terms of IQ, I mean, Brink, dating back to his draft year, one of his calling cards was his offensive hockey IQ. Cates obviously has the really strong defensive IQ. And even beyond that, I mean, I told you when they put the line together, I've talked to players in the room for the last couple of years, and they've all said, like, one thing you don't realize about Noah Cates, and by you, I mean, like, they say this about the media and
the
fans,
royal you,
is how strong his offensive zone hockey IQ is, that he does a lot of little things in the offensive zone that makes it easier for his line mates to score goals, even if he's not the one actually getting the goal. And I like the possibility of Cates' unselfishness, his willing to be unselfish, and that IQ that the players tell us about, working well with somebody like Michkov, who does want to be the center of attention. He does want to be the one who pots the goal. So I like the possibility still of those 2, Cates is willing to be the unsung hero in a way that I'm not sure anybody else in the team is quite as excited to be the unsung hero.
TK wants to be, but then ultimately something happens crazy and it's like, just put it in the net, dude. Last thing on Michkov. We talked about the goal scoring. You said still a little snake bitten. Is the book out on him going 5-hole? I do think on the second mini breakaway where he's trying to cut the center but runs out of room, he might have been trying to go against the grain back to the left as he's moving right, but kind of ran out of room, so it looks like he's going 5-hole. The first one's 5-hole all the way. We've seen him do that on a ton of breakaways, shootouts, whatever. You think he just needs to mix it up a little and that could help?
Well, I mean, you're setting me up with an obvious question, which is like, I guess so, because he's not scoring in the 5-hole and he's shooting the 5-hole a lot. So yeah, I guess he does have to mix it up a little bit.
You could be like, Bill, you're making stuff up. I haven't even noticed that.
I mean, I've noticed that he's got stopped to the 5-hole a lot. One thing that I have thought about a little bit about this, like, getting stopped on breakaways recently thing, I do wonder, and this is just a theory, I certainly don't have any inside information about this. I wonder if this is where you may have some of the drawbacks of him playing the left side versus the right, because he just may be more used to, with his arsenal of puck handling moves, coming off the right side towards the net rather than coming off the left side. Like, he just may not have as good of a handle on what to do in that spot because he's so used to coming off the right side.
Left shot on the right side. He did go far side a lot last year.
Yeah.
That was a thing where he could get it off of that skate or past the skate off of the post and in. And maybe that's just something he's missing right now. We shall see. All right. It is now time for the Unsung Hero presented by Togo. Togo, the leader in operations outsourcing, let Togo handle the work that gets in the way of your work. You call the plays, we execute. Togo. And I just always try to come up with a way to talk about Travis Sanheim and usually fail. So I wanted to make him the unsung hero tonight because I want to go back to that shift you talked about where the Flyers were hemmed in. And I think there's like an offside at one point, and then there's that pass that comes out to Mish, but he's like out of gas. But Canucks let the Flyers off the hook there when they had them on the ropes.
Yeah.
Later, it appears as if the same thing is going to happen, but opposite. The Flyers had 2 full shifts. They make a line change. I think it's the Coots line out there, and then the fourth line gets out there, and they are continuing the pressure. Puck eventually comes out, and it's like, oh, if we don't score there, when are we going to? And then Sanheim gets that heads-up play. Puck on his blue line, heads it up to Grebenkin on the far blue line. Grebenkin pokes it ahead to Grundstrom. We will talk about Grundstrom at some point. And Grundstrom scores because, of course, he does. But Travis Sanheim, that's his assist on the night. He's +3. He took 30 shifts, couple of shots on goal, a block. He is by no means a perfect player. But I got to tell you, I did not think when that trade doesn't go through to St. Louis a few years ago, I'd be doing post games being like, I'm glad he's here. I'm glad he's here, and I like seeing his name move up that list every time he puts up a couple of points and they show him. It's like Desjardins, Howe, Timonen, him. That's pretty cool.
Well, I mean, really, at this point, given how many more years he's got left on his contract, like there's a very good chance he is remembered as one of the best defensemen in Flyers history. Certainly one of the best homegrown defensemen in Flyers history, because they don't have a lot of those. I mean, even Mark Howe doesn't really
None of those
count.
guys on that list.
Exactly. So that's kind of cool, given the journey that his career has been.
It's like him and Therrien.
Yeah.
And like the 70s guys, right?
Yeah.
And if they were in the expansion draft, are they even considered homegrown? Like, I guess it's when the team started, but if they were on Boston or whatever, does that count? He might have to go back and check. Best homegrown defense.
I have to go back and see.
We'd have to do the legwork on this. You just put it in my head. Yeah.
It's a fascinating question, but yeah, Bill, I love that you highlighted Sanheim because I thought that was an extremely heads-up play. That's a classic example of like hockey in-game awareness. Like you need to be aware of the situation. Torts talked about it a lot. Situational awareness. You have to be aware of the situation. You have to be aware of, how your players are feeling, how your teammates are feeling, but also how the other team and their players are feeling. He recognized that team was tired and it was like, quick up, get the puck back into the zone as quickly as possible so we can keep those tired defensemen on the ice. It was a smart play. It was the right play, and it worked. Obviously, Grundstrom makes a great play. It's funny, my thought, and it ended up like I actually had forgotten that I'd even thought about this in the moment until you brought it up. My thought on that sequence right before Grundstrom scored, and then I just erased it out of my memory because it's like, well, clearly I was wrong, was a bit of frustration that Tocchet threw the fourth line out on the ice after Couturier had them hemmed in. Because it's like, oh, so now you got them on the ropes and you put the fourth line out there instead of a line that could actually produce a goal, and then they produce a goal. So Rick Tocchet, you were right. Well done, bud.
Well, yeah, and that's it worked out. So, man, Grundstrom, we will talk about Grundstrom. I have to because I have a very, very important question. But it is Travis Sanheim, who is tonight's unsung hero, presented by Togo. And now,
Bill, I get the biggest kick out of how you say Togo. It's very.
I just love. It's very fun to say. Now we got to talk about the other half of the Travi, Charlie, Travis Konecny. I asked you a few games ago, is he back? And you were like, well, all right. 12th goal of the season in the second period. In the first 25 games this year, 5 goals, 20 points. In the last 13, 7 goals, 15 points. Is TK finally back?
Yeah, Bill. To me, this was the John Wick game for Travis Konecny. People keep asking me if I'm back. Well, I'm thinking I'm back. I'm thinking Travis Konecny is indeed back. 7 goals in December. That's the most goals he scored in a calendar month since last November. Okay, so the goal scoring is back. Now, granted, there were some empty netters in there to be sure, but this game was not an empty netter game.
I'll take him.
This was not an empty netter game. What I loved about this game from Konecny is, number one, and he doesn't even get an assist on this play, he sparks the Cates goal. with that big hit on Philip Roenick. He blows him up in the neutral zone. That is the Travis Konecny role, because not only is he a scorer, and you expect him to score, 25 plus goals a year, 65, 70 plus points. Hopefully he's point per game this year. But you also expect him to be the spark plug. You expect him to be the energy guy. That's the value he provides. And this was a game where the Flyers showed up dead in the first 11 minutes. He blows up Philip Roenick. It just seemed like it energized everyone on the ice. It was one of those, just a bolt of lightning, and just everybody just amped immediately. And then obviously they score. And then that third goal, I mean, that is great play by Jamie Drysdale, to be clear, finding him. Really strong play by Drysdale. But Konecny gets stopped in the first shot. And then he spins around, finds the puck, and then lunges. Like, he scores that goal, roofs it while falling. Like, that is, first off, it's a skill goal, but it's also an energy goal. It's kind of like how I said about like the pass that Zegras had early in the year. Like, yeah, it's a skill play, but it's also a tough play. It's also a hard play. Like, that's a skill goal, but it's also the kind of goal you see like a third line grinder score just out of sheer effort. It's just the third line grinders usually don't have the skill to put themselves in that position all that often. Konecny does have that skill. He does have that energy. And I thought tonight, this was a leadership game from Travis Konecny. This was I'm not letting the team lose game. I was very, very impressed by Konecny in this one.
And when it's a skilled goal and a grinder goal, is that not what we want from Travis Konecny?
Exactly.
Like, is that not exactly? I don't know what you do at intermission. You're probably like working, writing, and stuff. But Al Morganti breaks the goal down, and he makes actually two great references in the same highlight. He goes, well, you see, the couple of games ago, John Tortorella called TK a wingnut. Look how he spins there, the way, like a wingnut would screw. Perfect. And then he says, that's like some Disney on Ice stuff. I was like, that's a Disney on Ice trip. Well done.
Love it.
Two great comments from Al, but that was like the hit, the goal. That's TK right there, man. Like, that is what we very much need. And when he's got 7 goals since like the second game in December, he looks like that guy again. And yeah, there's some empty netters. Scoring on the rush hasn't been there the way it has in the past, but this is what we need out of this guy right there, being that sort of leader, scoring those types of goals. I am as happy as could be with the play of TK right now, and hopefully it continues. Last thing before the break, I saw you say it on Twitter, but do you think with this little push here in December, he's got a chance to go to Italy?
I can't imagine. I think that ship has long sailed. And you know what? This is something he may never admit. I wonder if that played into the early season, not slump because he was scoring, but if that played into maybe him overthinking things a little bit too much, him thinking like, oh, I got to perform better if I want to make this Olympic team. You got Celebrini and Bedard going crazy. My spot's slipping away. I just wonder if maybe that did play into it a bit. That and the fact that he's now playing in a system. You mentioned about the lack of rush chance. Like, they're just not going to have as many rush chances.
There's not as many, yeah.
Yeah, it's not a system anymore like the Tort system that was predicated upon attacking in transition. This is more of a cycle, and you have to think system. And Travis Konecny is more of an instinctual player. That's his game. Well,
can only hurt the club.
I think he can eventually, and I think you're starting to see it, he can eventually train himself to turn what Tocchet wants him to think about into instinct, but it's going to take some time. And I think that may play into why he got off to, again, not necessarily a slow start, but let's say an inconsistent, a frustrating start at times. It seems like he's finding his fit in this system more and more, and it bodes extremely well, I think, for his second half.
Might have been you, might have been someone else. Heard the question asked of Tocchet, how long usually does it take like individuals and then the team as a whole to like switch the system, absorb it all, be able to put it into practice? And he was like, December, Christmas-ish. Well, and he actually talked about his first full year in Vancouver, how beneficial it was to have those final, I think, 36 games of the year prior.
Yeah, he did say
Tonight
that,
was
yeah.
game 38 for the Flyers. Like, maybe it takes just about half of a season, and then you really start to put it all together. All right, on the other side, we have the Game Changer presented by Elkin Chevrolet, but now it's time for our second break. Listen, we all know how hard it is to stay on budget this time of year, and it can be so stressful. Between travel, gifts, hosting, entertaining, you name it, it's so easy to lose sight of your money and financial responsibility this time of year. So if you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Monarch was rated Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, and Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface, either on your laptop or on your phone. And right now, just for our listeners, Monarch is offering 50% off for your first year. Seeing all the travel and gift expenses adds up already this time of year was shocking for me, and Monarch was a wake-up call. It made me stop and adjust my spending before the credit card bills arrive. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code PHLY at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code PHLY. Do we really want Matvei Michkov playing goalie? No, because it's not worth the risk, time, or money. It just doesn't make sense. You want to keep your stars focused on doing what they do best, and the same goes for your business. And Togo can help any business looking to streamline operations, become more efficient, or unlock more time for their best people. From customer service and accounting to order management, logistics, admin, and data entry, and even complex multi-step operational processes, Togo takes it off your plate at a fraction of the cost. And every engagement with Togo starts with free process mapping and engineering. Togo doesn't bill a dime until the real work begins, with programs starting as low as $1,000 a month, so you're not even going to break the bank. Each Togo program includes dedicated staff, custom automations, and US-based process engineers who act as your quarterback, giving you complete control, total transparency, and instant efficiency. At Togo, you call the plays, we execute. Visit harnesstogo.com. Scale smarter, work faster, and stay focused on winning. All right, welcome back. We are, of course, in the Xfinity Mobile studio, and right now, I have a huge favor to ask of our audience. Hit the freaking like button. There's like 300 of you watching live. It's almost 1:30 a.m. here on the East Coast.
Well done.
We love you sick bastards. Hit that like button. And thank you all for joining us tonight after that big Flyers win. It is now time. That's right. It's time for tonight's Game Changer, presented by Elkin Chevrolet. Elkin Chevrolet, together, let's drive. And it's one of the most dynamic goal scorers in the NHL, Charlie. It's Carl Grundstrom.
Carl just continues to come through. This is just one of the, and you know what? Teams that exceed expectations, I guess you need guys like this. Like any team that exceeds expectations, I'm even thinking back to like the Vegas Golden Knights of the expansion year. Like no one could have predicted that William
the original
Karlsson,
Misfits.
Yeah, that William Karlsson was going to be William Karlsson. Like some of those guys, yeah, like okay, Jonathan Marchessault, sure, he showed something. Riley Smith, same thing. Like Marc-Andre Fleury, Hall of Fame goalie, sure, it doesn't shock me completely that like he had a really good year out of nowhere because goalies are weird and he's done it before. But you need the William Karlsson out of nowhere who's like been a fourth liner his whole career and then suddenly becomes like a Selke contender. Maybe Carl Grundstrom is just the Flyers random dude who no one could have predicted is going to have the big year. I mean, 4 goals in his last 4 games, 4 straight games with a goal, 7 in his last 12. Is that what it is?
7 and 12, and it's really like 7 and 11 because like the first game was a one-off and then he got into the lineup.
Right. Bonkers how not only how much he scored, but how good he looks. He looks like a really effective bottom sixer NHLer.
I know chances are this all ends like tomorrow, and he just goes back to being the guy he was, 22 points in a full season or whatever. Fourth liner, that's that. Nice career, but nothing special the way he looks right now. I'm going to propose to you this scenario, Charlie.
Okay.
What if he's Ville Leno? What if he's a guy who just comes out of nowhere and for Ole Christian Tollefson and a 5th-round pick, we found a top 6 forward? I don't think he's actually a top 6 forward. The guy's doing it on the 4th line, though, and he's doing it on a 4th line that had no chance of scoring through like 30 games this year.
Look, I guess you can't rule anything out, William. I will say that he is currently scoring on 36.8% of his shots. I don't think that's going to continue. Seems unlikely. That said,
Charlie, what if it goes down to 20?
Look, he's looking good. He's looking good. This is found money. And at the very least, the Flyers have a clear-cut, solid 4th liner. Whereas, like, 3 weeks ago, like, the fourth line hadn't scored a goal even once with all three of the forwards on the ice at the same time. So at the very least, they have a significant upgrade. Props to Danny Briere. I mean, again, like, maybe this was just a throw-in, but it seems like he's pretty good with these throw-ins. I mean, he got Sean Walker as a throw-in and then turned him into a first-round pick and 2/3 of a great season. Maybe Danny just has a knack for these sorts of add-on types who seem like, like afterthoughts, but actually turn out to be pretty good.
Kuzmenko, got something for him.
Sure,
he turned nothing into something.
Why not?
Maybe this is just kind of the thing he's best at. I am allowing myself to live in a world right now because it's the week between, well, now it is actually New Year's Eve, but it's the week between Christmas and New Year's that doesn't really count. Not a real week. I'm allowing myself to live in the world where I'm like going to get excited about Carl Grundstrom having 2.5 years where you just go, where the hell did this come from? A la Ville Leno, Charlie. That's all. Maybe. Why not? Why not us,
Sure.
But he is, of course, tonight's game changer. It was his goal that made it, that gave the Flyers the lead that they never conceded. His 7th of the season, his 7th in the past 12 games. Nikita Grabenkin gets an assist, and that is the play we talked about earlier with Sanheim getting that headman after, it looked like, they're going to get out of this after we just spent 2 full shifts on offense. Nope, not quite. And another just left-handed shot on that right side to bring it back to your point about Michkov. You notice he didn't go short side there. He went all the way across and beats Demko, who's a pretty good goalie. I do wonder if that is a little something missing from Michkov's game. But Grundstrom scores that way tonight, goes high far side for his 7th of the year, and that makes him tonight's game changer, presented by Elkins Chevrolet. All right, I just want to hit a couple of other things, and then we'll take our last break, do super chats, 3 stars, all that, Charlie. Jamie Drysdale. No more one-timers for him. No more one-timers. He whiffs on one, and it ends a power play because then he's forced to take an interference penalty because the puck's just sitting there at the top of the offensive zone. And then he has another one where his stick blows up, and Vladar had to make a breakaway save on Evander Kane. Drysdale's a really good 5-on-5 defenseman. Maybe this isn't his thing, the one-timers.
Well, I think my bigger concern is like maybe the power play isn't his thing, which I really hope it can be. Jackie Spiegel, actually, so she's on this trip, and I watched one of the interviews she did with Tocchet. I don't remember if it was pregame today or yesterday at practice, but it's very clear, and I completely agree with her. This isn't a criticism. It's very clear that Jackie thinks that Cam York should be on that power play because he has legitimate chemistry with Trevor Zegras. And I totally agree with her. So she kind of positioned the question as like, so why haven't you tried somebody else there like Cam York or even Emil Andre? And instead you have Drysdale with Zegras. And Tocchet basically said, number one, we're trying to develop Drysdale as a power play defenseman. But number two, he likes the idea of the guy up top with Zegras being a righty shot so that he can blast pucks from the top. Which I do get in theory because York's a lefty shot.
Yeah, that ain't him, though.
But if Drysdale just isn't good at one-timers, then maybe there really, even though I get the theoretical benefit, maybe there really isn't that much of a real-life benefit unless he just gets significantly better at taking one-timers from that spot.
I mean, even when he gets pucks through from up top, it's more of a Doc Emmerich filtered on through kind of like, he's looking for a deflection. He's just trying to get the puck. That's not really his thing. Maybe he could develop it. Listen, we're talking about Carl Grundstrom, developing his game at like 28 years old. Who the hell knows? Anything's possible. We saw Sanheim and TK take later career leaps. Right now, looking at what this team is, everyone's skill set is not Jamie Drysdale's thing. But his former Duck cohort, Trevor Zegras, want to talk about him real quick. 2 assists plus 2, ho-hum night for him. The fact, I think what impresses me most about him, or just I find crazy, is the numbers he put up the previous 2 years in Anaheim. Were they trying to sabotage his career? Was he thinking about, like, I'm done playing hot? Like, How? Because I see the plays he makes out there. We said it about Michkov tonight. This was legitimately a 2-point game where he could have had 3 or 4. That's Zegras every single night. How did he score at like half a point a game clip for 2 seasons outside of the injuries? Is it just that? He was just hurt?
Well, I mean, if you believe the comments that Zegras gave to Greg Wyshynski to start the year, perhaps it was seasonal
The
depression.
weather?
Seasonal depression. That was the reason. No, I really do think it was fit. I think it was just frustration with how he was being used, how he was the guy, and then suddenly he's an afterthought. The injuries certainly played a big role as well. But it's funny because I thought this game, like, I didn't think he was that good. I thought it was a relatively ho-hum game. I thought he wasn't driving play to the degree that he usually has been this year, but he still made a bunch of great passes and he still finishes with 2 assists. And that's my point that I've made a lot over the last few weeks. It's just that, like, there's no more reliable player on this team than Trevor Zegras, in that every game he's going to produce offense. He's going to find a way to produce offense. He just does it every single game, and it's really impressive.
Like I said at the top, like, we got 2 of our 3 bets in that. In pregame, I was like, I'm just taking Zegras to put up a point. I don't care if it's minus 165, simply because he didn't have one last game. And if you watch this guy play, I tweeted this about Connor McDavid, and like, let's not listen. Zegras, no, but it's still kind of the same. It's crazier to me when McDavid doesn't have a point. I'm like, oh, his point streak's at 13 games. I'm like, how is it not his whole career? Like, the fact that Zegras could have a season in which half of the games he records no points is insane. But listen, we get him, and we get him for very little, so it all worked out for us. I guess nothing to complain about there. All right, let's take our final break. On the other side, we'll hear Charlie's 3 stars of the game. We'll hear your super chats, and we'll wrap it up. All right, everybody, it's almost the new year, which probably means you have big goals, but if you're like me, you've probably got no time to cook. Well, that's why Factor's been huge, because Factor makes it easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs, so you can eat well without the shopping or cooking. And in every Factor meal, you're looking at quality functional ingredients, including lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole food ingredients, and healthy fats. There's no refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. And you get great variety, 100 rotating meals every week. It's always fresh, never frozen, ready in about 2 minutes, no prep, and no stress. I use this, and you should too. Head to factormeals.com/PHLY50 off and use code PHLY50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. Offer only valid for new customers with code and qualifying auto and renewing subscription purchase. Make healthier eating easy with Factor. All right, we all know the feeling. You walk into the jewelry store, you're trying to pick out something for your partner, and suddenly you realize you're in over your head. You're thinking, what's the difference between all these diamonds? Color, cut, clarity. I don't know what any of this means. I just know I'm about to spend a bunch of money, and I don't know what I'm doing. That is incredibly stressful, and that's why working with Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design has been such a game changer. These guys make the whole process seamless. From the minute you walk in, they treat you like family because they actually listen. They help you figure out what your partner will love, and then their team designs something completely custom right there in-house. There's no pressure or pushy sales vibe, just good people who love what they do, and the end result, something you're proud to give and they'll never forget. So next time you need that perfect piece, go see Joe and Michelle at Bucci's Jewelry and Design. 30 plus years in the game, voted Philly's #1 jeweler year after year, and over 1,000 5-star reviews speak for themselves. Check them out today at BucciJewelers.com and tell them PHLY sent you. All right, before we get to 3 stars, Charlie, I just have to hit this last thing because I love statistical anomalies.
Okay.
I saw this on Twitter. It's from Uncle Butsy. It's Jimmy. He says,
Okay.
the first 3 goal scorers tonight all scored their 50th career NHL goal. And I looked it up. It was absolutely true. David Kampf, Noah Cates, and Carl Grundstrom each came into the game with 49 career goals. And those are the first 3 goal scorers tonight. That's insane. I don't know. I don't really have a comment other than that's wild.
As one Kelly Hinkle might say, it's Wilk.
It's Wilk. It is absolutely Wilk. I like statistical anomalies. I thought that was funny. Wanted to make sure we shared it tonight. All right. It is now time for Charlie O'Connor's 3 stars of the game. Charlie, if you'd be so kind, who was the 3rd star?
Yeah, third star for me. And there were a lot of options here. Like Dan Vladar could have been one of the 3 stars. Carl Grundstrom could have been one of the 3 stars. I actually had Grundstrom penciled in as my third star. But the
Grundo.
way the third period played out, the beginning of that period, I had to go with Matvei Michkov as my third star because not only does he finish with 2 big assists, and those were big assists. We're not talking about, cheap secondaries or garbage time points. And we're just like, well, Matvei Michkov scored, so let's make a big deal about it.
Yeah.
They were big plays. They were arguably the 2 biggest goals in the game. You have the goal that halts the early momentum from Vancouver. Michkov sets that up with a great entry play and pass to Cates. And then the goal right after Vancouver cuts it to 3-2 very easily could have been a debacle of a third period where they get back on their momentum train. They start rolling. Instead, 26 seconds later, Michkov sets. I mean, that was functionally like he passed the puck into Brink's skates to the point where it was impossible for Bobby Brink not to score. That was an assist of the most obvious way where it's that was functionally a goal. He basically scored that off of Brink.
From one angle, I was like, did Brink even get that, or did he hit the post and bank it in? But it was very clearly Brink's. But very, very nice play. Who was star number 2?
Star number 2, I'm going with the guy I just mentioned, Noah Cates. He scores that first goal. It was a great shot. Again, might have gotten some help from Ogren in terms of kicking that puck up a little bit. But hey, he had to get to that spot, take that shot. He gets another assist later in the game, but also, and this is a very important low-key play, he saves the Flyers from giving up a goal early in the second period.
Yes.
That block on Brock.
That block.
Besser. So you're talking about Cates having a goal, an assist, and a block that prevented a goal. Yeah, that's enough for me to make him my second star of the game.
And tonight's first star.
Yeah, we talked about him already, Travis Konecny. I just felt like this was a vintage Konecny performance where he was bringing the offense, he was bringing the grit, he was bringing the energy, he was even bringing the agitation. You had Kiefer Sherwood losing his cool on him at the end of the game. This was like the platonic ideal of a Travis Konecny game. This is everything you want out of Travis Konecny. And look, I've mentioned this a couple times. I feel like people still don't really believe me. Sometimes I don't even believe myself when I say it, just because I remember how he was 4 or 5 years ago in terms of just chaos at all times. Like he basically just seemed like he was like a 13-year-old in a 24-year-old's body. He is a team leader now. Like Travis Konecny is one of the team leaders. He is one of the guys that the younger players look to. He is not the mischievous prankster. He is a guy who is a veteran on this team and who is a lead by example type. Now, sometimes that example isn't the best. Tonight, that example was fantastic. That was exactly the kind of energy game that you want from a team leader. He showed why the younger players of the team look to him to see what they should be doing out there, not in terms of all the decision making, but just in terms of the energy and the overall mentality of I need to make something happen. He made something happen on a regular basis tonight. He had the big goal. He picks up another assist. He has the big hit leading to the first goal. Great game by Travis Konecny. He's my first star.
I know you typically only do Flyers. I just figured you'd put your cousin Drew O'Connor in there. 2-point game for him.
Yeah, Drew O'Connor was effective.
And just for posterity, to wrap this up before we get to Super Chats, Charlie, Zeev Buium, no points, -2, no shots on goal.
Yeah, I mean, he had the puck a lot. He made some plays, but he also made a lot of mistakes. He's very clearly still a raw defenseman who needs a lot of work. Hopefully, because I know people in Flyers world are kind of rooting against him. I'm rooting for him. I really like Zeev Buium as a prospect. I was a fan of his. I was a fan of his going into the draft. I'm still a fan of his. I hope he puts it all together because if he does, he could be a very fun NHL defenseman, but he's not there yet.
I was a fan of his until they drafted Jet Luchenko, and then I became a certified hater. All right. Let's get to the Super Chats. Let's see what we have tonight, and we'll lead it off with Mellerman. I have to expand my screen. Okay, there we go. Mellerman says, good morning. How about we do this again tomorrow?
I believe we are going to, Mellerman. We will.
We will be doing this again tomorrow. I know what Mellerman is alluding to. We are going to open up the sicko line tomorrow, Charlie. We're going to take some calls on New Year's.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mellerman's going to be on. We might talk to some other people. It's New Year's.
All right, let's see how it goes.
I have a few bevies, not really feel like doing my job. So we'll see about that. Brandon, is it news to you? I told someone this. Sorry, I just sprung this on Brenna. I thought I told someone, but must have been like Jamie. All right. Anyway, yeah, we might do that. All right. Timbo Slice with the next one. He says, "Why not us?" Hashtag Vladar Vezina still going strong. Michkov Mania's running wild, brother. Love it. Hashtag TK all day. Bobby on the brink of being amazing. And clever pun for Grundstrom still pending. There's nothing clever about what we're going to do with Grundstrom's name. We're going to do all sorts of Grundle puns. That's what we're doing. Or that
Yeah.
what was that book we had to read in high school? Grendel? What was that? Is that a thing?
I did not have to read a book called Grendel. So maybe you did. I did not.
It's like a monster.
Maybe.
Grendel?
Maybe.
I don't know.
I missed that one.
All right. But yeah, it's gonna be Grundle jokes. That's what we're gonna do with Grundstrom because I'm a child. All right. Next one here is from Timbo. It is the Brenna appreciation tax. I might have to double that because I just told Brenna she's gonna be doing a bunch of work on New Year's Eve.
Oh no.
Putting through all the callers. Hopefully it's not difficult. We'll drop a link or something. I think in the Slack or in the Discord. So if you're not a diehard and you want to get in, well, now's a good time to sign up, I guess. But that's the tentative plan right now. I want to call it the Xfinity Mobile Sicko line, but I don't know if Xfinity would like that. If they don't get the joke, they'll be like, "What do you mean sickos?" Like it's
a term of endearment.
It's a positive thing.
Yes.
So we'll see, but that's the tentative plan right now. All right, next one here is from DA Flyers Man. I disagree with that one ad read. If Michkov were a goalie, he'd play 60 minutes a night and everyone might be happy. Yeah, maybe. I haven't seen any of the discourse, Charlie. I assume because he only played like 12:30 tonight and had like a pretty good game, people are upset.
I would guess. I don't go on Twitter after games anymore. I have to write my article, and it's just like it's not really worth me getting all riled up by the discourse. To me, like, yeah, maybe you could have given him a couple extra minutes, but I think the leader among the forwards in ice time in this game had like 17 minutes. It's pretty clear they were trying to roll 4 lines in the first game of back-to-back. So
it very much wasn't the because we've seen it like. Oh, yeah, look at that. Konecny and Dvorak and Zegras all played like 22 minutes. Yeah, Dvorak led the way with 17:48. Konechny's next didn't even play 17. So it's not as if there was like huge disparity the way there is some nights. I think it was just kind of a roll at night. And as much as this pains me, because I don't want the fourth line to play a ton, when you got, I can't believe I'm saying this, when you got a Carl Grundstrom going the way he is, you got to find a few extra shifts.
Honestly, you're not wrong.
The thing isn't like, maybe he's Ville Leno and he's actually good. Who knows? But this thing likely isn't going to last. So take advantage right now. Get Grundstrom out there. What did Grundstrom end up playing tonight? So it's
13:39.
13:39. And there was like, yeah, but Grebenkin played 10:52, Brinks at 12:09, like Barkey, a whole bunch of guys between like 11 and 14 minutes, and then 4 guys who were 16 plus. So it really wasn't like a huge disparity in ice time too much, but I still don't think anyone wants him to play goalie. It would be funny.
It would be funny. All right, is that it for Super Chats? We have
that
more.
Might be it. One more, I believe, from Gary Peterson. Curious how many Matt's points Owen Tippett earned tonight by out-hustling 3 Canucks for the empty netter. That felt like a full redemption play. No, that was a good play. He was in the running for unsung hero, but the Sanheim play, because I wanted to talk about that, I had to set it up with that. But listen, I like Owen Tippett. It's just like, come on, man. But nice play tonight, and technically a shorthanded goal.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, do we have any more?
We got more.
From Deedle Nick. What do we have to do for 2026 to bring us a Mando Grundstrom collab? I mean, honestly, that's the dream, right?
Honestly, good call. Good call, Deedle Nick.
It's what we need. Keep those Grundstroms fresh with Mando. All right. And I believe that is it. And so that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Postgame. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, follow us right here on the YouTube page. We'll be back tomorrow. Pre-game and post-game, baby. New Year's Eve. It's going to be a good time. Make sure you join us. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers and follow the podcast. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. That is Charlie O'Connor. Until tomorrow, Happy New Year and be excellent to each other.